The torches flicker first, thin flames licking at the damp Roman air before the sound reaches her. A roar, low and rolling, like something breathing beneath the earth. The crowd is already awake, already hungry. Elia's wrists tremble against the iron ring bolted into the stone wall. She has been chained here since before dawn, though she no longer remembers how long before really is. Down the corridor, shadows sway. Other prisoners pulled forward by guards who do not bother hiding their boredom. This is routine for them, the way a butcher no longer flinches at the squeal of a pig. Elia is not meant to be a warrior, or a slave trained for performance. She is something else. Something the Romans in this arena whisper about with morbid fascination. A spoil, a captive, a lesson. Her breath fogs the cold air as she presses her forehead against the stone. The parade thunder of sandals grows closer. The guards stop. One of them, a man with the thick shoulders of a retired legionary, crouches to her eye level. "Look up," he tells her quietly, not gently, but not cruelly either, simply as if she were a detail he must prepare before the spectacle begins. She does. Her eyes meet the bright iron of his helmet crest, and then she notices the small pouch at his belt, filled with coloured marble tokens, the kind the crowd uses to vote on fates. He isn't here to comfort her. He's here to inspect merchandise. Elia's heartbeat stumbles. Behind him, a gladiator leans against the wall. Not armoured for battle, this is not that kind of day. He wears only the simple tunic of the ludus yard, arms marked with healed gashes and fresh abrasions. His name is Cassian, a murmillo known for dispatching opponents with terrifying efficiency. But right now, he looks at her with an unreadable expression, one caught between disdain and reluctant curiosity. He knows what the arena expects. He knows what the crowd paid for. And he knows she is part of the performance. The guard tugs Elia's chin upward. Don't shrink. If they see fear too early, it spoils the build. Cassian looks away. Elia doesn't. She refuses. Even as her throat tightens, she clamps her jaw until something in her chest steadies. She will not give them the tremble they want. The guard notices, nods once in approval, and gestures for Cassian. This one goes in the second phase. The crowd likes contrast. Start with the loud ones, end with the quiet. Elia hears the words but cannot interpret them, not fully. Second phase? Contrast? Quiet? Then the guard's hand finally leaves her chin, and in its absence, she feels the cold of the wall seep back into her bones. As they move on, Cassian lingers a heartbeat longer than necessary. He looks at her, not as prey, not as a prop. Something else. Something complicated. He's about to speak. But the horn blares. The great bronze bellow that signals the opening of the gates. The corridor explodes into motion, and Elia's world fractures into fear. What happens next is the part Roman historians rarely wrote down. Because what Elia endures inside the blood-stained amphitheatre is not the kind of glory plastered on the walls of villas. It is not triumph, nor battle, nor sport. It is something Rome perfected in the shadows of its power. A ritual designed not just to hurt, but to degrade. A ritual worse than death. But before we step into that arena with her, we must understand the machine that allows such cruelty to exist. A machine built from law, spectacle, and a culture intoxicated by dominance. And the truth behind that machine is darker than most history books dare admit. The hidden truth is this: Rome did not simply use violence. Rome engineered it. Rome ritualized it. Rome consumed it. And in the heart of the empire, the suffering of the powerless was transformed into something the public believed They were entitled to witness. The female prisoners brought into the arena, paraded before tens of thousands, were part of a carefully structured system of humiliation. Not random, not accidental. Planned, practiced, perfected. Historians rarely name this system outright. They prefer gentler terms: spectacles, punitive exhibitions, damnatio in ludens, a phrase meaning condemnation for mockery. But the truth behind those words is far more sinister. Roman poet Juvenal warned in Satire 8 that the arena devours the weak and the conquered. Seneca described the midday shows as pure butchery, nothing to learn from but the love of cruelty. And the Digest of Roman law, cold and legalistic, outlines every step of a prisoner's degradation, from seizure to public display. Archaeology has uncovered holding cells beneath amphitheatres in Capua, Pompeii and Rome, where captives were kept before performance. Cells with chains fixed at heights that forced many to stand or kneel for hours. Graffiti left by spectators mocks them with jeers, names, crude sketches. This was not chaos. This was procedure. A machinery of humiliation tuned to the desires of the Roman crowd. One of the most bloodthirsty audiences in human history. And so, in this world of marble, dust, sweat, iron and spectacle, our story unfolds. Let us step into Rome, not the postcard Rome of gleaming temples, but the Rome Aelia walked into that morning. The sun has not yet risen high enough to burn away the night chill. Vendors push carts of figs and bread along the paved streets near the amphitheatre. The stones underfoot still glisten with dew, reflecting torchlight like scattered stars. Already people gather at the gates. Farmers from the Campanian fields, wealthy matrons wrapped in dyed wool, children clutching wooden toys shaped like gladiators, old men arguing over wages. The smell is a heavy mixture of vinegar wine, roasted nuts, sweat, and anticipation, a carnival scent masking the metal tang of what's about to come. Above them, the amphitheatre looms, its travertine blocks the colour of bone in the early morning haze. To the people of Rome, it is a monument. To those waiting beneath it in the holding cells, it is a tomb with applause. Inside, workers rake the sand smooth. A thin layer of crimson dust lingers from the previous day. It is never fully cleaned. The arena smells of iron, oil-soaked ropes, damp wood, and old blood dried into the grains of the earth. The velarium, massive awnings manipulated by sailors, billows overhead like the belly of a ship. The fabric filters early sunlight into a strange blue glow, a glow Aelia will soon stand beneath. Rome's social hierarchy looms just as large as the stone seating. Senators and equities claim the best view, where they can nod at one another over cups of wine as lives are stripped bare below. Commoners fill the mid-tier seats, shouting, betting, laughing. Slaves and foreigners press against the highest arches, forced to watch their own reflection on the sand floor. Nobody questions the cruelty. It is normalized, expected, desired. For Rome, brutality is not a flaw in the system. It is the system. Gladiators are the empire's most famous performers, yet even they are trapped within it, trained in strict discipline, controlled by lanistae who treat them as investment stock, and forced to fight under rules designed to maximize entertainment. Gladiators, for all their fame, are property, and captives like Aelia exist even lower, bodies taken during campaigns, targeted for humiliation, used as living messages to those Rome conquered. If a legion marched into your homeland, this was the future if you resisted. Public degradation, stripped identity, an arena full of strangers deciding your fate with a gesture of their thumbs. Now, amid this complex machinery of cruelty, we meet the two souls who anchor our story. Aelia, once the daughter of a community elder in a small frontier settlement, known for her skill in weaving patterned cloth. She speaks 3 dialects, but pretends not to, hoping her captors might underestimate her intelligence. Small details of her past cling to her like ghosts. The smell of cedar in her family home, the rhythm of her mother's loom tapping at dawn. She holds these memories tightly, for fear that this arena might erase even them. And Cassian, the gladiator who will cross paths with her in ways neither expects. Cassian was not born into violence. He once served in the Roman auxiliary forces, earning a minor commendation before a political dispute with his centurion landed him in chains. Sold to the ludus in Capua, he spent 6 years learning how to turn survival into entertainment. He is not cruel by nature, yet cruelty has become the air around him. Each scar on his arms marks a moment when the arena demanded he either kill or be killed. His victories grant him status among gladiators, but not freedom. Not yet. Freedom is a distant rumour tied to the elusive rudis, a wooden sword awarded only to those who give the crowd enough memories to crave more. But the price of those memories is blood. Always blood. And on this day, Cassian carries another weight. The growing knowledge that today's spectacle is not combat, but humiliation. A different kind of violence. One he despises, but cannot refuse. Aelia and Cassian stand on opposite sides of the social order. One a prisoner, the other a weapon. Yet both live under Rome's shadow, shaped by its appetite for domination. Their lives are not meant to intersect, but the arena will twist their paths together in ways neither expects. Because before the sun sets, Aelia will face a ritual crafted to break her spirit. Cassian will be forced into a role he never wanted, and both will navigate the thin, dangerous edge between obedience and defiance. What they do inside those walls will ripple far beyond the sand, and Rome, watching, roaring, demanding, will decide whether their humanity survives the spectacle. This is where our story begins. The first horn of the morning fades into a long, trembling silence as the amphitheatre gates grind open. Sunlight spills across the sand in a thin, golden ribbon, too bright, too warm, too peaceful for what is about to happen. Aelia stands with dozens of other captives in a cramped alcove beneath the arena floor. She can feel the heat rising from the sand above them, like an exhalation from some giant creature. Chains rattle as prisoners shift their weight. Aelia keeps her eyes focused on a single beam of light, slicing through the iron grate overhead. It is narrow but sharp, like a promise she refuses to let go of. Romans call this moment paratio, the preparation. But to those awaiting humiliation, it feels more like the final hours of a life already forfeited. Cassian waits on the opposite side of the corridor, arms crossed, listening to the rumble of the crowd as it swells with each passing heartbeat. His fellow gladiators tighten leather straps on their wrists, adjust greaves, stretch their shoulders. They speak in low voices, joking, sneering, masking their dread. Even veterans grow uneasy on days like this. Combat is one thing. The other events, the performances, carry a different weight. Cassian keeps glancing toward the captive's holding alcove. He knows Aelia is inside. He shouldn't care. Gladiators don't care. Their survival depends on emotional distance. But something about the look she gave him in the corridor, that silent refusal to bow, lodged itself like a splinter beneath his ribs. The lanista, Lucrosius, a man whose ambition outweighs both his morality and his belly, steps into the corridor. He claps his hands twice. The noise echoes like a slap. "It's time," he announces. His voice is oily, rehearsed. "Today's crowd expects something memorable. Give them build, give them contrast, give them emotion. And for the God's sake, don't rush." He eyes Cassian directly. "Remember your cues." Cassian nods without speaking. Lucrosius moves on to the captives. His gaze skims across them like someone appraising livestock. He instructs a pair of attendants to begin the procession. The attendants unlock the prisoners one by one, loosening chains only enough to force them into a single file line. Aelia is near the end. The attendant's hand rests on her shoulder briefly, not gentleness, just pressure, turning her toward the wooden ramp leading up to the arena gates. Her throat constricts. The corridor narrows. The air thickens. She steps forward anyway. With every pace, the noise above grows louder. Shouts, laughter, a low chant pulsing like a heartbeat. The arena is waiting. As the captives ascend, Cassian and the other gladiators circle to the opposite tunnel, the one that leads to the staging platform where they will enter later. He hears the scream of metal as the great portcullis begins to lift. He can picture it without looking. The sand whitening under the morning sun, the crowd rising to their feet, the prisoners blinking against the brightness as they are herded into the center. This is the preparation, a ritualized unveiling. For the prisoners, it marks the moment they stop being individuals and become the day's entertainment. Cassian clenches his jaw. He hates this part. But he walks forward when Lucretius signals, because he has no choice. Above them, the spectacle begins. The captives are arranged in a wide semicircle. They stand barefoot on the heated sand, the grit burning lightly against their skin. Their clothes have been deliberately rough-cut to appear ragged, as if the Empire needed to remind the crowd of their inferiority. The crowd reacts instantly. Boos, jeers, coins tossed at their feet, a chorus of mock pity and delighted cruelty. Aelia stares straight ahead. The amphitheatre seems to vibrate around her, a massive stone heart thundering with the pulse of 30,000 voices. Her ears ring. Her breath shakes. But she stays upright. Lucretius steps into the sand, arms spread theatrically. His voice booms through the space. "Romans, witness the spoils of our conquest. Witness those who dared defy the might of the Empire." The crowd roars like a storm. Lucretius continues. "These captives rejected peace. They rejected tribute, and so Rome rejects them." A wave of sound crashes over the sand. Aelia feels her pulse spike, but she does not look away. Lucretius begins moving down the line, introducing the prisoners not by their real names, but by labels meant to strip them of identity. Rebel, thief, defiler, traitor, enemy of Rome. When he reaches Aelia, he pauses. He studies her, her posture, her defiance, and he smiles faintly. "This one," he announces, "claimed dignity in the face of Rome. Let us see how long it lasts." The crowd erupts. Aelia's nails press into her palms. Her heart waits for what she does not know. The humiliation ritual begins. It is not violence, not yet. It is degradation crafted for spectacle. The prisoners are paraded around the arena, forced to stop at each quadrant so different sections of the audience can hurl their staged insults. Some spectators shout fabricated accusations, others laugh, others spit. Children mimic their parents. Vendors pass jugs of weak wine as if attending a festival. The cruelty is communal, ordinary, baked into the bones of society. And as the captives walk, the crowd becomes bolder, louder, more eager to impress one another with vicious creativity. Aelia keeps her gaze on the sand. She counts her steps. She inhales slow, intentional breaths, just as her mother once taught her while weaving intricate patterns on the loom. "Do not let your hands tremble," her mother had said. "Thread remembers everything." Aelia clings to that memory now. The crowd may try to unmake her, but her mind is not theirs. When the procession ends, Lucretius claps once, a sharp signal. The second phase begins. The gates across the arena open. Cassian steps into the sunlight. The crowd shifts tone instantly, not jeers, but exhilarated cheers. Gladiators are Rome's celebrities, its trained instruments of spectacle, its heroes and victims wrapped in one. Cassian walks forward with measured poise, the way he has been trained. Not proud, not meek, controlled. His eyes scan the captives. Aelia stands rigid, shoulders squared, chin lifted slightly. Cassian's stomach tightens. Lucretius announces the next stage, a mock judgment where gladiators will demonstrate Roman dominance through non-lethal displays meant to terrify the prisoners and entertain the masses. The crowd knows the script. They lean forward eagerly. Cassian is paired with Aelia. He did not choose this, but he cannot refuse. Lucretius walks between them. "Make it dramatic," he whispers. "The quiet ones always fetch the best reaction." Cassian's jaw twitches. Lucretius steps back, the crowd hushes. Cassian stops a few feet from Aelia. He raises his practice spear, a wooden rod meant only for symbolic displays, then slams its butt into the sand. The sound cracks across the arena floor like a blow. Aelia does not flinch. The crowd reacts instantly, gasps, murmurs, a wave of anticipation moving through them like a living thing. Cassian steps closer. Aelia lifts her chin a fraction higher. She knows she is meant to cower. She refuses. For a split breath, neither moves. A strange electric tension ripples between them. Then Cassian tilts his spear, as theatrically as possible, bringing the wooden shaft near her shoulder, but deliberately not touching her. Aelia's breath freezes, but she holds her ground. The crowd roars, half disappointed, half intrigued. Lucretius watches closely. He narrows his eyes. The drama is supposed to break the captive, but Aelia stands like a carved figure. Cassian knows the script demands escalation. He swings the spear in a half circle, bringing it down with a whistling arc that ends mere inches from her feet. Sand sprays. Aelia's ankles sting, but she does not retreat. The crowd erupts, but their roar is mixed, some thrilled, some annoyed she hasn't reacted enough, some demanding more. Lucretius folds his arms, displeased. Then, everything changes with a single subtle gesture. Aelia does something no one expects. No one. She looks Cassian directly in the eyes, not with pleading, not with begging, with recognition. A silent message. I know you're trapped too. It is not resistance in the physical sense. It is resistance of spirit. And it is dangerous. Cassian's grip tightens on the spear. He wasn't prepared for this. He sees fear in her face, but deeper than that, he sees clarity. A refusal to surrender her dignity. Something he hasn't seen in a long time. Something he barely remembers in himself. The moment lasts only a heartbeat. Lucretius notices. The crowd notices. The spell breaks with boos from the upper tiers. They want collapse, not courage. Lucretius signals sharply, the cue for the next stage. And Cassian's chest sinks. He knows what comes now. The system punishes defiance. Attendants converge on the captives, roughly, efficiently. The prisoners are separated into groups. Aelia is pulled from the semicircle and forced toward a set of stone steps leading beneath the arena. The crowd cheers at the sudden shift, sensing punishment, sensing drama. Cassian watches helplessly as Aelia disappears into the shadows. He wants to follow. He cannot. Lucretius steps beside him. His voice is low, cold. That moment of hesitation? Don't repeat it. Cassian says nothing. Lucretius continues. The crowd saw your softness. They don't want softness. They want Rome's certainty. They want control. You give them anything else, and you'll be the one kneeling next time. Cassian forces a nod. Lucretius leaves, satisfied. But Cassian's mind is already descending the stairs after Aelia, even though his feet cannot. Below the arena, where the sunlight fades into torchlit gloom, Aelia is led into a narrow chamber carved directly into the stone foundation. It smells of damp iron and stale incense. The walls are etched with scratches, tall, short, frantic, marks left by others who stood here in years past. A Roman official waits inside, holding a slate and stylus. He begins recording observations about the captives: demeanor, resistance level, entertainment value. Her fate is now ink on a tablet. 2 guards stand flanking the doorway. Aelia is forced to her knees, not violently, but decisively. She is asked questions she does not answer. She is told accusations she does not recognize. She is evaluated like an object. The humiliation is bureaucratic, methodical, rehearsed. One guard presses a thumb under her chin, lifting her face for inspection. Aelia's breath quivers, but she does not break. Across the chamber, Cassian suddenly appears in the doorway. The guards stiffen. The official looks up sharply. Cassian wasn't summoned here. He wasn't permitted here. But he stands with the confidence of someone who knows the arena cannot function without him. "I need her moved," Cassian says, voice calm but firm. "She's part of the second sequence. The timing is off." The official frowns. "I received no such instruction." Cassian steps closer, lowering his voice. "If you delay the sequence, Lucrosius will blame you, not me." The official hesitates. Gladiators do not have authority, but Cassian is not just any gladiator. He is a key draw, a profitable asset, and Lucrosius is known for finding scapegoats. Reluctantly, the official waves the guards off. "Fine, take her, but make sure the sequence stays on script." Cassian nods once. The guards release Aelia. Cassian meets her eyes for the briefest moment, a silent acknowledgement. Not rescue, not alliance, just recognition. "Come," he says quietly. She rises slowly. Her legs tremble, but she stands. Cassian leads her down a side corridor, away from the chamber, away from the officials, away from the immediate cruelty of the moment. When they reach a dim alcove where no one stands watch, Cassian stops. Aelia stops too, cautious, unsure. Cassian speaks first. "Whatever happens next, don't let them take your mind." Aelia swallows. Her voice is barely audible. "Why did you help me?" Cassian exhales slowly, almost painfully. "Because I know what it means to lose yourself here." Aelia's eyes soften, not with trust, but with understanding. For a moment, the brutality of the arena fades. For a moment, 2 human beings exist beneath the crushing weight of Roman spectacle. Then Cassian steps back. He cannot linger. If they're discovered, both will pay. He gestures toward the ramp. "We have to return." Aelia nods. Together, though separately, they walk toward the light that spills from the arena gate. The next part of the spectacle awaits, and Rome is eager. The arena is no longer merely a stage. It is a living, breathing organism, absorbing every heartbeat, every whisper of fear, every defiance, every glance that refuses to bend. Aelia steps back into the sunlight, the heat of the sand sinking through her bare feet. The crowd notices the return of the prisoners. Their murmurs swell, anticipation renewed, curiosity sharpened. They are hungry for drama. They are ravenous for shame. Cassian stays at a measured distance, spear lowered but posture alert. He watches the crowd, the prisoners, and most of all, Aelia. He knows the stakes have changed. What began as ritualized humiliation has become a delicate dance, a negotiation of survival, dignity, and instinct. Lucrosius appears again, sweeping through the arena with theatrical authority. His eyes flicker over the captives and the gladiators, calculating the crowd's reaction. He is a maestro, orchestrating fear and fascination with a precision that chills even the seasoned performers. "Romans!" he cries, his voice echoing off travertine walls. "Now witness the final act of courage, or the final collapse into defeat." The crowd roars, sensing climax. Every whisper, every gesture of defiance will be magnified under their gaze. Every reaction is measured, catalogued, and amplified. Today, humiliation and valor are inseparable threads, woven into one tapestry of spectacle. Aelia takes her place at the center of the arena, shoulders squared, eyes forward. Her mind refuses to retreat. She focuses on every detail: the shifting shadows on the sand, the scent of dust and sweat, the distant echo of trumpets. Every sensation anchors her, reminding her she is more than a label, more than a stage prop. Cassian steps forward, entering the center alongside her. The crowd reacts differently now, sensing tension between them that is not scripted, not rehearsed. Whispers ripple through the stands. Some think it a prelude to violence. Others sense something more human, a flicker of understanding, recognition, even empathy. Lucretius signals subtly to Cassian. The gladiator performs the calculated movement expected of him, a feint meant to intimidate the prisoner. But this time, Aelia does not flinch. Instead, she shifts slightly, meeting the motion with a subtle, deliberate counterweight, an act that requires both courage and instinct. The crowd gasps. Some murmur approval, some hiss at her audacity. In that moment, Aelia transcends the role assigned to her. She is no longer a passive object of spectacle. She becomes an agent of tension, of narrative, of emotional engagement. She transforms fear into resistance. Lucretius's eyes narrow. The script, carefully designed to humiliate and control, has fractured. The unpredictable human element, the defiance of the captive and the subtle complicity of the gladiator, has introduced chaos. Chaos the Empire fears most. The next sequence begins. Guards, instructed to enforce conformity, approach. Aelia steps aside, anticipating the rhythm of the arena. Cassian positions himself between her and the attendants, performing the motions that Lucretius has mandated, but with an internal calculus, ensuring she remains unharmed, while still satisfying the audience's appetite for spectacle. It is an intricate dance. Cruelty, choreographed, but tempered by unspoken humanity. Every gesture matters, every second stretches into an eternity. The crowd leans in, sensing the tension as their own excitement escalates, the line between entertainment and anxiety blurring. Aelia's defiance is quiet, controlled. Every subtle movement communicates both recognition of danger and refusal to yield. The ritual becomes less about punishment and more about a psychological duel, a contest of wits, courage, and resilience. Then the final act commences, the private chamber confrontation, transposed into public spectacle for maximum effect. The remaining captives are ushered into a designated arena alcove, where officials judge their composure, loyalty, and worthiness. For Aelia, it is the ultimate test, a gauntlet that will decide whether her mind remains intact, whether she will survive the scrutiny of empire and crowd alike. Cassian remains at her side. Their eyes meet across the sand, silent, deliberate. He signals, not to command, but to communicate. Endure, resist, survive. The crowd senses the elevated stakes. Silence spreads, heavier than the roar before. Every Roman spectator, from senator to child, leans into the unfolding drama. The amphitheatre itself becomes a character, a witness to human complexity, a stage for both cruelty and courage. Aelia kneels briefly as ritual dictates. She allows the symbolic act of submission, but tempers it with controlled posture and sharp, unwavering gaze. Every movement carries dual meaning: obedience on the surface, defiance in spirit. The officials deliberate. Their judgment is slow, meticulous, performed for effect as much as protocol. Each note taken, each observation whispered, is part of the theatre of authority. They cannot allow unpredictability. Yet even they, trained in the mechanics of control, feel unease in the face of Alia's composed resistance. Finally, the verdict is issued. Public approval. Carefully managed humiliation mitigated by subtle recognition of courage. Alia is not crushed entirely. She is spared the most extreme forms of punishment. The crowd reacts with mixed satisfaction, curiosity, and intrigue. They have witnessed the human spirit endure. They have seen defiance tempered, not destroyed. In the aftermath, Cassian and Alia retreat from the sand. The corridors beneath the amphitheatre smell of iron, sweat, and dust. Silence fills the space, broken only by the echo of distant applause. In this hidden realm, they share the first unspoken words of reflection. Cassian lowers his spear, the tension in his shoulders easing fractionally. "You held yourself better than most trained fighters," he says quietly. Alia allows a small, wry smile. "Better than most who expect to break us," she replies. They acknowledge, in that fleeting moment, that human connection can exist even amidst engineered cruelty. Mutual recognition of resilience, empathy, and subtle complicity is enough to sustain them beyond the spectacle. The arena, however, has not finished its work. Rome demands continued engagement. Lucretius enters the holding corridor, carefully monitoring the aftermath. He notes the reactions of gladiators, officials, and prisoners alike. The empire thrives on repetition, the expectation that every act will reinforce hierarchy, obedience, and fear. Yet today, the machinery of control has faltered, just slightly. The unpredictability of human agency, a subtle exchange of courage, defiance, and empathy, has created fissures in the carefully constructed spectacle. Even a minor crack in the illusion threatens the authority of the narrative. Alia and Cassian, aware of these cracks, navigate carefully. Every step is deliberate, a negotiation with both fate and empire. Their understanding is unspoken but complete. Survival now depends on intelligence, timing, and quiet collaboration. The final, human twist occurs behind the scenes. Alia, previously a symbol of victimhood, demonstrates resourcefulness. She communicates small details, gestures, subtle cues, and knowledge gleaned from observation that allow Cassian to moderate his movements, protect the captives, and maintain the illusion of obedience while resisting total domination. This shared effort creates a moral complexity rarely documented in Roman records. It is the human element that turns ritualized oppression into something alive, unpredictable, and morally resonant. Cassian, who has long performed under the empire's gaze as an instrument of cruelty, experiences a flicker of conscience. He recognizes Alia not merely as a prisoner, but as an equal in agency and courage. His actions, though constrained by role and expectation, are informed by empathy, a rarity in the arena and an act of rebellion in itself. The spectacle concludes with applause, less the roar of domination, more a murmur of awe. The crowd senses the tension has shifted. They have glimpsed not only fear, but resilience. Not only cruelty, but humanity. And in that fleeting moment, the carefully constructed narrative of absolute control wavers. Alia and Cassian exit the arena together, not as conspirators, not yet as friends, but as two human beings who have endured and subtly subverted the expectations of empire. Their survival is a testament to intelligence, courage, and the capacity for subtle moral resistance within a society built on spectacle and cruelty. Outside the amphitheatre, the sun begins to set. The dust of the arena rises with the cooling wind, catching light in streaks of amber. Rome's heart continues to beat. The empire thrives, the spectacle persists. But for a few fleeting moments, the machinery of oppression was negotiated, humanized, and in small ways, resisted. The arena remains, a monument of power and ritual. The crowd disperses, satisfied yet unsettled. The amphitheatre will fill again tomorrow, demanding new performances, new acts of obedience and defiance, new human stories to be consumed. Aelia and Cassian, however, leave changed. Both have witnessed the thin line between survival and subjugation. Both understand the subtle power of empathy, recognition, and quiet defiance. Both carry the knowledge that even within a society structured for cruelty, the human spirit can persist. And so Rome continues, its stones cold, its crowds hungry, its rituals unbroken. But beneath the sunlit sand, the pulse of humanity endures. Even in the shadows of terror, courage, intelligence, and moral agency survive. This is the dark truth of Rome's arena. Not merely gladiators or captives, not merely spectacle or entertainment, but the quiet, almost invisible struggles of human beings navigating a system designed to erase them. Moments of recognition, defiance, and survival that history often overlooks, but that define the essence of humanity. And for Aelia and Cassian, the story is far from over. But the arena has taught them this: survival requires more than obedience. It requires courage. It requires connection. And above all, it requires that even in the darkest of spectacles, the mind and spirit remain unbroken. Rome may construct the stage. Rome may control the narrative. But the human heart writes its own story, even in the shadow of empire.